Good morning from the Sedgwick County Zoo. Today we have Brad Richards here. Here he is. Hi, young man. So he's going to talk to us today about the African American Museum. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you. Let's kick it off.
Alrighty. Well, excited for everybody to be a part of this presentation. And excited to educate you all a little bit about Africa, maybe teach you some things maybe you didn't know before. And so I work at the Kansas African American Museum. What do I do there? I'm our community outreach coordinator and our education specialist. What does that mean? I get the opportunity to go out into the community and educate people about Kansas African American history and African American history, as I'll be doing today. A little bit about myself. I'm from a small town called Leavenworth, Kansas. I graduated from Wichita South High School here in Wichita, Kansas.
Go Titans.
Yes, absolutely. Go Titans. Before going to Kansas State University, where I graduated in December of 2021, I got my degree in economics and statistics and political science. That's a lot of things. I just like numbers. I really like numbers and I like research. And then I'm currently at WSU pursuing my master's in public administration. So I like schools and I encourage everybody to stay in school and learn as much as you can. So what do we do at the Kansas African American Museum? So our endeavor is to make the African American experience resonate with every Kansan. Our outreach is growing, so our outreach is at a global perspective. So we want to make the experience resonate with everyone globally. And we do that through our 4 pillars, as you can see, and that is arts with our artifacts, art and collection. We have some really cool artifacts at the Kansas African American Museum. If you ever have time, I definitely encourage you to come visit and check it out. We do that also with our history, heritage, and legacy. We have a really dense archive of history, and we enjoy telling people that. Education is one of our core pillars, as we're doing right now. Just going to educate you all a little bit about Africa and what we do at the Kansas African American Museum. We do that in a variety of different levels, from K through 12. So I've done first grade classrooms all the way up to business executives that work at Cargill. So it's a lot of diversity in which we educate, and we really enjoy that. And then our last pillar is culture. And that's also a part of our slogan, which is called "We Are Culture." And we do that through our events, programs, and immersive experiences. Next slide, please. So what do we have at the Kansas African American Museum that specifically relates to Africa? We have our Africa to Kansas exhibition. It is our permanent exhibition, and we have about 55 different artifacts from about 13 different countries in Africa. All of these pieces are ethically sourced, which means they weren't stolen and brought to America to be put in our museum. Many of them were actually donated by artists who collected them and had personal relationships with the people they got them from. And then all of them are original pieces. So none of them are replica pieces, which makes them very, very valuable. In our current collection, we have over $4 million worth of art in our collection. So art is very, very expensive. And again, I encourage you to come check out the Kansas African American Museum if you haven't already. Next slide, please. All right, so Africa, the heart of humanity. I want to pose a question to the group, and you can all respond in the chat as necessary. But my first question is, how many countries are on the continent of Africa? Don't forget, Africa is a continent. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent, and there are many different countries in the continent. So my question to you all, and you can respond in the chat, is how many countries are in Africa? All right, and so we'll find that answer closer to the end of the presentation. My next question would have been, what have you been taught about Africa, or what have you learned about Africa? Africa is one of the largest continents on the globe, and I've had the opportunity to actually visit Africa myself, and it's a really, really, really interesting place. It's a really different place than what I've been taught. So I really want you all just to maybe take a little time to think about, what have you been taught about Africa? And then think about some of the things you've heard and think about maybe where your connection is. Do you have a family member who's from Africa? Do you have a family member who's been to Africa? Have you been to Africa yourself? So maybe just think about that a little bit as you're thinking about Africa. Next slide, please. Oh, so those are the questions. Have you been to Africa, or what have you been taught about Africa? When you hear about Africa, what are your first thoughts? And then what is your connection to Africa? If you would like, answer these questions in the chat. Already answered the question in the chat. There are 54 countries in Africa.
So Miss Dunn's class at Kelly, they had quite a bit of guesses. They had 20, 200, 107, and 1,000.
And 1,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got a large variance of countries in Africa, but there are 54 countries in Africa. My next question would be, how many languages do you believe are spoken in the country of Africa? And you may not have enough time to answer this one because it's the next answer, but next one, please. Did you know that there are over 2,000 different languages spoken in Africa? You can put that in the chat. Did you know it? Yes. Did you not know it? No. And let us know what you think, and we'll see your response later on. Next click, please. Did you know that the current population, there are over 1.4 billion people on the continent of Africa? Roughly 1.4 billion people. This makes this one of the most populated continents on the planet Earth.
Hey, Brad, in comparison to the United States, like size comparison,
Absolutely.
how big is Africa
related to the
Yeah.
United States? So you can take 3 United States of
Oh, wow.
Americas and stick it in the country of Africa.
Wow. Did you hear that? 3 United States, and they all would fit in the continent of Africa. And remember that we are also a continent. So that's how big it is. All right.
Absolutely. Next one, please. So even to that part, Africa is the second largest second largest continent on the planet. And the first one is Antarctica.
Oh, it is? Oh, that's new to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Next slide, please. All right. So as I mentioned before,
go back.
Yeah. And then lastly enough, maybe you've heard about Africa in the Saharan deserts, in the major heat. So Africa is actually said to be the hottest continent on the planet in the world because of the deserts and other things like that. Next slide, please. All right. So just thinking about Africa, it has many different countries as we talked before. But Seychelles is the smallest country in Africa, where there are only 99,000 people as of 2021. Oh, we got some friends coming. We got some visitors coming with us. Absolutely. So when you look at this map, you can tell that Africa is divided into 5 different regions. There's Northern Africa, as you can see in yellow. There's Western Africa that you can see in blue. There's Central Africa that you can see in orange. There's Eastern Africa that you can see in green. And there's Southern Africa that you can see in purple. And so all of these different regions of Africa are different. They have different people, different cultures, different customs. They speak different languages. They eat different food. And there's a variety of diversity in these different regions of the country. And so that's just a little bit about Africa. And if you ever get the opportunity to go, my favorite place that I would suggest is to go to Kenya. Kenya is a country in Africa. It's a really great place with some really great food.
It looks like we have a question posed.
Absolutely.
Sounds like we've lost them just a little bit, but we're just seeing these chat questions come on through, and the questions coming out about different kinds of animals there are in Africa, and what is the most populated animal in Africa? That's an excellent question. And as our team is getting their audio reset, their microphones must have been just a little fussy. Let's put in the chat, friends, what animals do you already know that are in Africa? Our friend Carrie, she's really close to one of the animals that is from Africa there, so maybe she'll be able to pop over her camera and we'll be able to see that here in just a moment.
Right.
Oh, we're hearing you now, Carrie.
Are we back on?
We're back on.
Oh, where did our lion go?
We're back on. Man, I don't see any line. Oh, there he is. There he is.
You'll need to point him out. Put your finger up there so we can look.
So we found that the most populated animal on the continent of Africa is the antelope.
Oh, seems like the sound's going to cut out again a bit, but at least we can see that amazing animal, the big lion, live today. That is so awesome. With the different kinds of animals that are in Africa, there are literally hundreds of different kinds of animal species in the continent. Oh, we've got a class who knows the elephants there, a cheetah's there, the lions, zebras, yes, and elephants. And we know that if you get a chance to visit there, you'll get a chance to maybe see these in person. Carrie, let's test your audio one more time.
Let me, oh,
There you
nope,
go.
That's not
You're
it.
good.
Oh,
You're
was that it? Okay. For
Yep.
some reason it changed on me. So we'll go ahead. We'll turn it over back to Brad. And Brad, what else do you have? Just maybe something quick to kind of wrap up.
Absolutely. So a lot of people may not know this, but some of the first civilizations in the world were established in Africa. And actually, it is said that the first humans evolved in Africa, and they found the oldest remains, the oldest human fossil remains on the continent of Africa. So it can be said that life originated on the continent of Africa, and that's why we call it the heart of humanity. So again, if you all want to learn more about Africa or learn more about African American history, especially in the state of Kansas, I invite you all to come to the Kansas African American Museum. You can look it up on Google. It's a really cool place to come, and I would be super excited to teach you all more about what we have to offer. So thank you all again, and I really appreciate you all's time. And I'd love to answer any other questions if necessary.
All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Brad will be at the African American Museum. If you have more questions, encourage your families to take you out there to kind of see all the cool things that they have in store for just our local community. So thank you so much, Brad. We appreciate it.